The goal is twofold. In some ways, you are thinking as a nonprofit about the information that you want to express and you want to put out there into the world. So what do you want to educate people around, right? And that should be a part of your content strategy. The other side, though, is what people are looking for. And you need to address what people are looking for because of this huge role that search engines play in our lives now. So to kind of surface information, you need to really pay attention to what people are searching for or looking for. And so those questions don't always overlap. I mean, sometimes people may be typing in information that even your organization might potentially find kind of offensive, right? The way that they're seeking information. But if you want to educate that public on information, then you need to include that in your content strategy so that you address those questions or that misinformation. It also entails how you organize information, and that so it's not just what information goes on your website, but how it's organized, and that's about how easy it is for people to find it. So, you know, you have things that help you like search and tagging, but a lot of it is the organization of your navigation bars. And it's the little things like the wording for different menus that give indication to people for, you know, where they're supposed to go to find information on your website. And it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg question, because people have become more and more accustomed to be able to find information they're looking for quickly and easily. And so as a result, if your website is not set up so that people can find things in, you know, 3-4 clicks, they get frustrated and they leave and they stop, you know, interacting with you in your organization on the internet. So those become just the things like, you know, the headings for the menus actually becomes quite decisive. And there are ways you can test for that. You can do testing with users to see how they understand grouping and categories. They're called card sorts. So there's actually a research method for doing that. Even the labels on things like the buttons that you click or the help text, for example, those have taken decades actually of research and, you know, trial and error to develop. And so in the early ages of the internet, like late 90s, early 2000s, when e-commerce was kind of taking off, there were, you know, the help text used to be much more like what you would find perhaps on an old school paper form, these long explanations that were wordy, and eventually kind of realized that one, help text was very necessary for people to understand what kind of error they were making. But things like you guys may be familiar, you know, you may think of when you're creating a password and it may show you underneath, you know, the requirements of the passport, and then they slowly disappear as you fulfill them. Like you've included a capital letter, you've included a lowercase letter, a number, and so forth. Those were all developed through user design. And so those things all make it easier for people to interact with platforms, and then you have more conversion. You have more people then using them and returning to them. One example that I think is always really striking is that Amazon back in the day, when you added things to your cart, their button used to say log in, right? And everybody loves to log in. It's everybody's favorite task. So those buttons, you had a lot of abandonment issues because everybody hates the login process. And so when they changed the word on that button from login to continue, they saw a huge growth in their sales. I think it was 300%. I'd have to go back and look for the exact data. But little things like that, and that's where the role of UX writing, I think, really came into development. So now there's more and more differentiation within user experience design, and there are people who focus on the user interface and are more design-based. There are people who are UX researchers and they do the research side of things. And then there are people who just focus on UX writing. And those are the people that look to write instructions and, the things like the buttons that make the experience clear and efficient for people generally. And so the writing has its own role in that. And that's It can get a little bit more complex in terms of you may use slightly different word choices to kind of establish a brand tone and set you apart. You know, you might, you know, just thinking about Facebook and its like button, right? Like they invented this like button and the concept for that, and that became kind of very central to who they are as a platform. And that was kind of innovative in its time. It became a part of their branding in a sense. Then you also have consistency is a big thing. So developing kind of style guides that help to repeat the same language throughout the platform so that people don't become confused. And that goes, you know, in terms of word choice and even things like, you know, little things like punctuation and so forth that are very subtle, but they give you this overall continuity and confidence that research has shown means that people are then faster at completing the tasks they're wanting to complete. And also they are more trusting of the information that they're receiving. There's something about, you know, continuity that is comforting to us and reassuring to us. So those are all kind of considerations in